guys, how's it going? Today I got this to level out good to the point where it's ready for paint. Although I did get some resin from the fiberglass on there, I'll have to sand that off, but it's going pretty good. And then I started to work my way around here just on the top half. But I got all this here ready for paint, about 3/4 of it. The reason I didn't do the bottom is because of this great big hole here. So what I plan on doing is kind of cutting a rectangle out of here, right? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a recess in here. So it'll go inwards, and then I'll have my license plate here, and then 2 round tail lights on either side. And then kind of just sink it into it. And then I get to cut all this out, and I don't have to deal with all the dents and stuff. So I can just essentially put out like a Frenched in pan there. And then kind of skipped a lot, but I was jamming today. So basically I got all the sheet metal in, welded, and the first layer of kitty hair on here. So yeah, and this stuff is just a thin lick, so once I sand it off, it should be ready for another layer of prime, and then it'll probably be ready for paint after that. But back here, I still got 1 layer of smooth, and then another layer to kind of flood it out and finish it. And then I have to get this fender off here before I start to do the body work on the bottom. But this bottom section will go quick because there's no holes in it or nothing. And then, yeah, we can start on the other half of the body after that. But if you're kind of curious, yeah, that's what the inside of it looks like. I put some fiberglass and stuff on the inside of the welds just to kind of tidy it up a little bit. It's going to get covered anyways, but I just like to have something on the back of it. So, yeah. And after that, I think the next thing we're going to tackle is these holes here. The one in the bottom of the door, and then the cowl. So, but I might body work the cowl and then this top piece here, and then do the door separately, which is kind of my plan. Yeah, once I get her all in primer like that, I can lift this body off and then start to work on the chassis a little bit. And then after I get the chassis done, I can finish the floor, and yeah. Still need to order that 4-bar kit, and thinking I might do hairpins and a drop axle up front, but not too sure yet. See what money has in mind here, but yeah, she's turning out pretty good. That's the other door. It's not quite as bad at the bottom, but it still needs a little strip in it. Luckily, it hasn't been chopped yet. This other one has. Yeah, I've got a lot of sanding to do, but she's coming. As you see too, the body isn't all the way down yet. There's a bit of a gap in there, but it's because it's sitting on that trans hump, so the rate changes quite a bit. It sits down on the front more. Then up here, what I think I'm going to do before I do the cowl is this bit of a lip here. And I take this panel off the dash and I'm going to sink it down, and then I'm going to weld it to the cowl just to gain me a couple extra inches of vision. And And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a plate that goes on this whole front edge, and then that's what your window will go onto. And then it'll have like a trim plate all the way around it that has a spacer, and then the trim pit plate, and then it'll be threaded holes with screws in it, because this whole windshield is not going to open, so might as well gain the extra vision. And then I think it'll give it a better look, because this will be, you know, one piece. There won't be no big kind of gap here that you can see from the outside of the car. And then inside here, probably going to weld in a plate on the bottom of this with a nice bead roll along the bottom. And then I'm going to put my gauges to the outside here, get rid of all this stuff in here. Kind of my plan. But yeah, I got to do all the work up top here and get this all sitting plumb before I can body work that cowl, and the door. So I'll do my measurements and weld in the last piece of pipe here just along the side, and then that'll set the angle of the cowl. So get this thing nice and plumb, so that the measurement is the same down here as it is up here. And then door will fit on nice and square. And then yeah, after I weld in the trans hump and that, there'll be lots more support, but that's just kind of how I want to do it, because this car is really twisted. So little by little I'm getting it back into square. Another job I got to do too yet is remove all these little bolts that are hanging out and all this rotten wood and get rid of it. And then I think I'm going to recreate this wood here. So we'll see. This one here is actually not in too bad shape. Same with this one. Might actually leave it, but I'm not too sure. And up here, I think I'm just going to get a sheet of 3/4 inch plywood and do 2 or 3 strips in there, however wide it needs. Because this whole thing, it's got little kind of nail holes in it, kind of, if you can see them. All the way across. So, got to have a pretty thick piece in here. But as well as this, that's where those kind of tackle onto too. So, and then cut all these off, fill that up with wood, and then tack these ends to it. Also, there's a bracket inside here. I don't know if you can really see it, but yeah, right there. That guy there has to get welded back on, and then I got to take the measurement to chop the rest of the door out, because the door just barely sits in this little recess here. So it's kind of why I'm waiting to chop the door. And then after I get the wood replaced there, I can start doing the ribs, and I think I'm just going to make them out of square tubing, and then just put a rib where every one of these bolts are, kind of going across like this until I get to the back. And then the back here, because it has a bit of shape, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to fill this up with a 2x4, and then I'll put another bar right here. So I'm pretty sure I want to do a canvas top, because this has got a lot of pitting and stuff in it here. So what I'll do is I'll just like put a piece of foam over it, put some like rust converter or something on it, and then put a piece of foam over it, stretch my leather down, and then I'll get some of that stripping from Canadian Tire, that chrome stuff, and then just put nice screws through it every so often to hold it. And then that bit of a pad on it, the little bit of foam, if I sew it into it, I can make it like pleats almost, and then it'll help mask some of this ugliness and keep it from flapping. It'll give it a little bit of a weight. So, yeah. This needs a little bit, needs a trim from the inside here. Once I trim that out, it laid down pretty good. So this thing here is pretty hard too. I got it fillered right up, so I'm gonna have to like carve it to get it back straight. So. Then for some odd reason it looks like there's a big dent right in here too. Before I do my filler, I think I'm just gonna throw porta power from the inside and then see if I could push it out. Either that or just hook something to one of the studs in the garage, see if I can yank it over a little bit, get it straight. Either that or a relief cut and push it back out, but seems like quite a bit of a whammy in there. Yeah, and then finally get rid of these that have been like making hamburger out of my shin. Look at that. Yeah. Like that gauge cluster is kind of all right, but I would like it to sit over more over, like my gauges to be over the steering column. And in order to do that, I'll just make like a plate, kind of like the same shape, just to bring it out more, because there's like, I don't know, 3 inches from that tank to where the outside of this kind of header panel is, or whatever you'd call it, dash panel. And then I got to replace all this wood in here too. But I was thinking if I get rid of the wood and then I just put metal over it and box it all the way in. Same with this back one here. I'll give it more strength. Just box it right in. This is a pretty cool little motor. I've had it for like ever. It's all set up on roller rocker. Really aggressive cam in it. It's got a nice wee and intake on it with a quick fuel carb. I think that's an Accel distributor too. So. And then I think the motor will come back maybe a little bit here yet. The body's not all the way forward. I think the front of the body almost has to sit kind of right here, so you can move it back a couple inches. But the thing about this is it's right on top of this cross member. I'm gonna have to come up, but I'm thinking if I just kind of run the rad out front of the engine, and then I'll take off the fan and run electric fans. So basically, right where the grill shell is here, that's where my rad will go. And then that'll give me room to like loop that hose down. But I'll try to push the engine back as far as I can, but kind of pressed for room. Either that or might get ambitious and cut the frame off and extend it. You know, give myself 6 inches, 8 inches, whatever. So I do have a couple frames I can use for that. So and then once it's in place, I'll cut that kind of bracket off, and I'll bolt it on, and then I'll just put a couple of pieces of pipe to bridge the gap. That'll kind of flow down there nice. Put like a cherry bomb or something, and then I think Freightliner or Peterbilt and Brandon, I got some stacks from them before. So a nice like 3-inch stack top and have a curve out. But I seen on eBay you can get a chrome glass pack too. So if I could get one with a header flange and then just stick the piece of the stack on to come out, I think that'll be how I'll do the exhaust on it. But yeah, kind of getting excited to get rid of this body and get working on the chassis. So, but I got a lot of work to do yet, so not quite even halfway done. So all right guys, take her easy.